There it is, call to order, come up.
Okay. Do you see everything else?
Nope,
Yeah, I do.
all I see is call to order.
Right. That's okay.
Call to order.
Oh, it doesn't appear on the agenda. It's had
13 minutes late. Gotta thank goodness I haven't print them.
There. Agenda.
Agenda,
There you
oh,
go.
look at that.
Okay, so.
Oh,
so
again, we don't have the minutes, so we can't approve them again?
No, I sent them. I just didn't print them. I sent them to you guys, didn't I?
Huh?
I printed them out.
Did you? When, was that separate from the
You know what I
agenda?
did? I sent you the draft ones, and then I corrected them, and then I forgot to send them out with the agenda.
All I got was an agenda, so, yeah.
And I wanted to know. I apologize. There have been a few things on
What am I
mine.
spelling correctly?
What's been on your mind?
USNR in Lindstrom. It's Lindstrom. Lindstrom.
All right, so I'll bring those next month. Apologies, they are typed up. So the good beauty of that is that I don't have to try to remember what happened way back then. I just have to get them for the meeting. There's always a bright side.
Well, those are the only,
So that was this. Okay,
the only thing I saw in the minutes that needed to be
I'll
corrected
fix
is
that
spelling.
for next
So
time.
if anybody else remembers the minutes, we can probably go ahead and approve them.
Got my book.
So, on to the third one. Citizen comments, any citizens? Are we on TV? Okay, no citizens. Library director report.
Okay.
Go for it.
Well, I tried to gather some thoughts today. That was something fast moving, but I have a couple things beyond that, but mostly moving. Let me tell you about moving. Moving has been this absolutely remarkable experience since it started really in full volume last week, because the Mormon volunteers came in on Friday of last week, and they had about 20 people or something that morning that I had to put to work. And so this really tested my powers of organization, let me tell you. So what we did is, as you know, we have materials going to the Carnegie, to Jackson Campus Storage, and to Friends of Library Storage. So we had lists printed off of all the newest materials that we were going to take to the Carnegie. So we started them with these lists, started two groups in fiction, started two groups in nonfiction, and they went through and they pulled books, individual books. And we had done some of this ourselves. And then, and they did all kinds of other little things. And the next day, people went through and tried to find more of the books that had been missing the day before. We came up with a little coding system to tell us that. Much discussion was had about each of these topics. Now, should I put a 0 here or an M or whatever, And so they went through and pulled more, and then right behind them were the boxers, and we started boxing stuff. And that must have been, well, I guess that was Saturday. And I need to tell you, they just started slamming through materials, started boxing things, and we were still deleting items and boxing those.
They being these 20 volunteers?
Yeah, but I mean, we had a different group each day, and the volunteers, they would stay for 2 hours, and then replacements would come.
This is all from Mormon Church?
Yeah, and so they have 5 wards up here that kind of work together. I forget what their big thing is called, these 5 wards together. So each day was assigned to a different ward, and they had a whole schedule filled out. Fortunately for me, the afternoons would kind of taper off, except for Friday evening when it was like we were having a party there at 6 o'clock, but we got a ton of work done. And so by the afternoon, everything had kind of calmed down, and there was just really serious work getting done. And the noise wasn't quite so much because we still had patrons coming in. So I had to say at 11 o'clock every day, okay, you guys, we're opening the doors. Patrons we are actually an operating library. And they got so much work done that by Monday afternoon, we actually had to send volunteers home. By Tuesday morning, they weren't really helping me as much as they were helping the people who are taking the shelving away. And so the shelving, as you've seen, is way past half down. And so all of that is going to get done way faster than we planned. The movers have already moved 2,100 boxes over to Jackson campus that the people boxed up. They have also taken 2 loads of things to Goodwill. Goodwill is taking anything we don't want. Staten, the Friends of the Staten Library, they're taking anything else and all the books that you guys can't take. And some of the shelving. Corvallis is taking the rest of the shelving. All this stuff is finding fantastic homes, and we were like 3 days ahead of schedule. And I'm just like going, this is like going so well that it's energizing me. I'm like going, oh my gosh, I found my gift. You know, but it's just really, I'm so pleased, and everybody is, like, it almost went too fast. You know, they were almost kind of like, and I heard this from Rocky, was telling me about when they moved to high school, that they were almost like they were way ahead of him and how much progress he had made in boxing things and sorting things. You know, but if you can rise to the challenge of providing them with work, man, you are going to get some work done. And they are definitely available for our move into Eastham. They claim to have a blast. They would love to help us do whatever. And then on top of that, we had people like Dan, our regular volunteer, who has made, I don't know how many trips down to the Friends storage space. A few of them with my son David, and boy, does David have stories to tell. Because, do you guys know Dan?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, talk about a character. Talk about a character. Yeah, so anyway, I mean, between everybody who has contributed time, and it's just been remarkable. It's amazing. And so the movers now are actually, instead of waiting until Saturday to move into the Carnegie, we're actually going to start doing that on Friday. Our goal for everybody is to not work on Sunday. That's our, you know, like, let's see if we can take Sunday off. And I don't think it'll be a problem. If I'm not even sure we're going to have to work all day Saturday. I think if we can get enough done on Friday, we can work half a day Saturday and then come back on Monday and do a little cleanup. The shelving people are going to get, for sure, Staten will be done by Friday night. We may even have more volunteers just to help with that final shelving on Tuesday, or on Tuesday night. And then the Corvallis people, because the Staten guy is teaching the Mormons how to take down the shelving, they're already dismantling the shelving that is for the Corvallis people. So when they get up here, they're basically just going to have to load their truck, which is way less than what they thought. So it's going really, really well. So now if the move in is as easy as the move out, then we got it made. And we have 9 days, you know. So we were talking to, I was talking to Gary Emmons today, who's kind of heading up the whole electronic effort over at the Carnegie, and they're as ready as they can be. That kind of happens in stages. You know, they have to wait until we close to take the antenna, the wireless antenna off of our roof and stuff like that. So, you know, they can only go so far, but they predict that by the end of Monday or Tuesday, we'll have network stuff and computers up over there. So, and then we have to scan in, like, every single book that we brought down there has to be scanned in because it had to be checked out to move as like a patron move. And that was because we're taking just individual books, whatever they could do at network for us, they can only do the whole collections. So something has to be done to all these individuals. Like that's not true of every single collection. Like new books and AV things, he could just like kind of move all of them where we needed them to be. But individual books like the fiction, adult fiction, for instance, and the nonfiction, where we're actually pulling things out according to date, we have to handle individually. That was just, you know, the only way we could figure out how to use the software and to get the materials that we thought would be the best materials for down there. So it's been really an adventure. It's working out really well. And we'll just have to see what it's like once we get there. But the process of getting there has been actually kind of fun.
You still planning on opening the 21st and closing?
This Friday is the last day up here.
And
yeah.
what are your hours going to be?
At the new place, they're going to be 11 to 8, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 11 to 6, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then 12 to 5 on Sunday. And then at Eastham, or even, you know, we'll just see how we're doing with staff and stuff. If we extend our hours, we're thinking that we would open earlier. You know, like maybe open at 10 instead of 11. because we always have people waiting to come in. So, and then it's going to be interesting, we're talking about what statistics to keep and stuff. You know, we're trying to think like, well, what would help us while we're at the Carnegie? What would inform us as to like the differences between the buildings, or, you know, what should we be keeping track of while we're there, you know? So it's just going to be kind of interesting to figure that stuff out.
How did you decide on opening until 8 on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday?
It was decided a long time ago, and I haven't really revisited it. We have people there, although I think Monday's pretty slow. So, I mean, that's something we could revisit too.
I'm just curious, it seems usually restaurants are open more towards the end of the week. Is there something about
That's
libraries?
a good point. I don't know.
Sure.
You know, yeah, actually in Eugene, I think it is a library thing. And maybe they just over time have noticed the trends of when people go. Because like in Eugene on Friday night, I think we closed at 6.
Yeah.
Or we did there too, yeah. And we stayed open till 9 the other nights or something, you know? So it's kind of odd. You know, that's something that once we have a little bit of time and before we get to Easton, we should like fine tune some of that stuff.
Yes, because one of the things was they used to be open on Thursdays to 8, and they had
That's when we had our adult programming,
Right.
later.
So one of the other things I wanted to tell you about was a possible adult program. Today I got an email, we all got an email from the state librarian, Jim Shepke, and he recommended that we each apply to have the new poet laureate, Pauline Peterson, visit our libraries. And so I thought, you know, that'd be cool to like have her come after we close one night at the Carnegie, and then just set it up for like, welcome to the Carnegie. So we're thinking, I sent out the application and suggested a date of September, but said, hey, we're open to anything, just come. We really need you. You should come see us. We haven't had a lot of adult programming. We're going to be in the Carnegie. It'd be really cool, blah, blah, blah. Really tried to talk it up, and I think that would be a fun program. So we'll see. So that's one of the things I did. The other thing that's very, very, very cool is last week, out of the blue, I got this phone call from On Point Credit Union. And they said, yes, we are opening a branch, and every time we open a branch in a new community, we like to give some local beneficiary $1,000. And we chose the library. I was like, okay, where do you want me to be? I'll be there. So on Saturday, I got all the volunteers organized, and then drove over to On Point Credit Union and was participated in their grand opening and got a check for $1,000. And Rocky was there because Alice couldn't make it; she was out of town or something. And so he was the scissor cutter guy. And so he said, "Oh, you're here. You're getting money. Come on, you have to help me do this." So then I got to like cut the red ribbon, which was really fun. So there was actually 3 of us, because the president of, or whoever she is, of the Clackamas Community College was there, so the 3 of us were doing that. So I got $1,000. So I have to write a bunch of thank you notes, is what I'm going to be doing. So, and I want to give them some ideas of how we're going to expend that money as well. So life has been good. Did I tell you about the guy that volunteered to make something out of wood for us at Easton? So a representative from the Woodworkers Guild called, and he said, we'd really like to make something for you for your move into Easton. We're busy this year, but since you're not moving there until next year, you know, that would be perfect for us. Would that work for you? Yes, that would be perfect for me. So we're going to get together and down the road and talk about what that might be, which will be good that it's put off, because then I might have some more ideas about what might be good. So it's like all these volunteer offers are coming just kind of out of the woodwork, and I'm floored. I mean, I'm just floored by all of them. It's just awesome. So, Easton, nothing has happened. Nothing, which is really interesting. You know, everything got approved by all the parties that had to make a decision, but the attachments to the sale contract still needed to be hammered out by the attorneys. There's no problems. It's just that what I heard was that they were sitting on Ted Donstad, who is the facilities director for the school. They were sitting on his desk, and they were just waiting for his approval to pass on up or whatever. And he went on vacation, and then he came back, and the the really negative state economic forecast came out, and the schools kind of went into crisis mode with their finances. And I predict that he's been thinking of nothing else. So our attorneys are making phone calls, you know, and trying to get that pushed along. But honestly, you know, once that happens, the due diligence period starts, and really for me not to have to be doing that at this same moment has worked out in my favor. So,
Have we made the application for the planning thing yet? Can't do that until after.
we need to at least to have this firmed up before we start that. We can start that at any time, but I think we need to select somebody who's going to help us with the rezoning, and that's like such a huge job. That's going to be like such a big amount of money that we're probably going to have to put out an RFP or some kind of thing like that, some crazy thing. So, and even like the due diligence is going to cost mega money. So, the person, Nat Newstrom, who helped with this building and who helped me coordinate the move and stuff, he's already given me a proposal just to help me coordinate the due diligence process, never mind the rest of it. Will help me get started on the rezoning, actually. And so we'll sit down real soon and talk, maybe even tomorrow, and talk about what that will look like, because from the architect's point of view, they have to go in and do this like whole structural thing on the due diligence, and the bid I have right now is like $22,000, and I'm just like, that's a lot of money. So I have to not just figure out, I mean, I have to figure out who to give that job to, because it's so much money. You know, anything above $10,000, I'm supposed to get like 3 bids on or something, you know. So that, and that's just the due diligence. That is one part of the due diligence. But everything else I think should be relatively like, you know, a couple grand here, a couple grand there kind of thing. So not having to think about this while the move is happening has been actually a blessing. And so that should be happening like really soon. I actually thought for sure that I would get word that I needed to start my 60 days when I was at crisis stage or something up there, but that's actually passed. We're in good shape up there. So bring it on, I'm ready. So that's where I am.
What's the happening with staff? I mean, how many FTE do you have up on the hill, and how many FTE are you going to have here in Carnegie?
So what we're doing with staff is not quite finalized yet, because what we had to do was we were considering adding some more hours, and if we were going to do that, it was going to mean that we were going to have to do some interviewing, because once you bump somebody past 20 hours a week, then that's actually like a new position, because it goes into a union position. Yeah. So we were looking at the job descriptions, and they were inadequate. So we wanted to beef them up a little bit, and that took a big long process, because that had to get reviewed by the union. And so that did come back to me right when I started getting busy. You know, those did not come back to me until like we really were in the middle of moving like last week. And so I need to sit down with that now and kind of go, okay, so these are the positions I want, but how many hours do I need them? We think we can fill them in-house. Really, is all I'm trying to do is kind of use the help I have in a little bit better way. And it will probably kind of start a little bit of a domino effect, move a couple people up, and then maybe move some other people up from lower positions. Then in the librarian phase, we're actually reducing our number of FTE for librarians by just a smidge, because we have only one reference desk at the Carnegie, and so we have only one desk that really needs to be covered by reference librarians full-time, instead of 2 places that we have at the current place. So because of that, we're reducing our number of on-call librarians, and they're the ones who work less than 20 hours a week, but they've had a permanent schedule. Even though they're temporary, technically help, they've had a permanent schedule. So what we're doing is moving Sue from children's to adult reference, and then we went through a little bit of an interview process, which Linda and Karen helped with, and we reduced the staff from 5 to 3, just to make sure we had ample of the on-call people, in addition to Sue. So we have ample, coverage if somebody's on vacation or somebody's sick or whatever. We have people we can call, and the 2 people who are not going to have permanent schedules will still be available to us if we call them and their schedule allows them to come in and work. They're still available and willing to come. So, and then our children's room is going to be more like staffed with library assistants for now, because it's going to be a checkout desk, and it's going to be like so small that we just didn't feel like that was good use of staff to have like a full librarian down there full time. But of course, when we go to the Carnegie, to Eastham, then that's gonna take a whole nother look, because, then we're really gonna wanna beef up children's and young adults and figure that out. So hopefully, what I'm trying to do is make sure that our library assistant, quota or whatever, is kind of in place, and we don't really have to beef that up too much for Eastham, but we will have to beef up our librarians once we get up there. So, and we'll have to see what we can afford. That's the thing, the money that we get from the district is fantastic, but it really isn't enough to staff us the way the OLA standards want us to staff. It's really not enough.
And I think Larry kind of hinted at that quite a bit.
So that will take another look. So we're working on that right now, and we're also working on scheduling quite a bit. I think the time has come when maybe all of us, including me, need to work like a night or a weekend or something and fill in some of those gaps. And libraries do it everywhere. Everybody's expected to, suck it up and work their fair share. And it's really good for people like me, because that's when you get your exposure to more people and you learn kind of the real common everyday, kind of like how to check out a book, how to write a library card. And so I don't do that every day, and so it's really good practice for me, because then I can start questioning policies really well. Why are we doing it that way? And until you use it, sometimes you don't know it, so yes.
Libraries that I used to be involved with in another state used volunteers so much more extensively than Oregon City ever considered or even thought of. They would have the equivalents of like 5 full-time employees in the volunteer staff. And I know when we went down to Albany, and she quoted that number of how many volunteers that they had that worked. It was in the hundreds, wasn't
Is
it?
she union? It makes a huge difference.
Well, I know there are things that you can't have volunteers do that are union, but you can use them for a lot of things that you never considered.
A lot of controversy about it, and it's really worth talking about. I know down in Eugene we were talking about, should volunteers do the shelving, for instance? And I think you just need to make a decision, like, well, what's a volunteer job, and what are you going to pay somebody to do? And there needs to be a distinction, a clear demarcation of what that is. And I think as long as everybody's clear on it, it's fine how you use people. But I think it gets really tough when people are doing some things for free that other people are getting paid for, especially when you have a union. So,
And some of the libraries that I worked with, they had unions, and they still had volunteers doing some of the same functions. They reported to the paid employees, or the paid employees supervised them. But
right.
it's something that needs to really be visited, I think, because otherwise you'll probably have problems with hours and the amount of work when you get into Eastham, because I think the demand's going to go up a lot.
We probably will need to visit it, and I'll probably be very uncomfortable about parts of that. But hey, I can grow.
A lot of it is learning a new thing.
Well, and honestly, I think they're just like, if these are professional jobs, some of them, and and it's like, then what's the profession worth if it's just completely full of volunteers? I don't know. And the other thing is a value to the community. It's like, you have to say, this is worth so much. Not that volunteers aren't, but it's like we have to put our money where our mouth is at some level. And I think it's deciding where that level is. That's the tough part. So, yeah, we can visit all you want, just not today. What else can I tell you?
Is there a number, an FTE that we have up the hill, and an FTE for everything, not just librarians, but just everybody? It's like 6, 9, whatever the number is. And is it going up or down? And I assume it's going to go back up again. I think you said that when you go into Eastham. I'm just curious, is it going down, going into Carnegie? Is it staying the same?
I think I'll have to. I don't know. I can't tell you if it's going to go up at this minute because I haven't decided how many hours some of the new positions should have. But I think actually the way we're doing Carnegie, it's actually gonna go, it's either gonna be either level or go up. It's just gonna be different people, different classifications who are filling the job. So we're definitely gonna go down a little bit in professional librarians, but we're gonna go up a little bit in library assistants. So, because at the Carnegie, what we're doing is we're having a checkout desk on one side of the door, and we're having an information desk on the other side of the door. So we're splitting up the two functions that basically have been operating at one desk at the entry of the Hilltop location. So what we're gonna try and do is staff both of those desks most of the time, and we're just gonna have to see how it rolls out, as well. Instead of like up there, we would just have one person on duty, and then if they needed backup, they would call somebody. So we're just gonna have to see how that goes. And that, because one reason we're doing that is because, first of all, there's not as much space, and secondly, we want to keep a lot of these people around, and we are trying to like build up a certain base of library assistants for our move up the hill, too. So the other reason is that, like for instance, on the weekend, so there's like 3 levels of library assistant, and on the weekend, we have like a library assistant 2 right in the middle of that, in charge of like everything. And it's kind of like, why isn't at least a library assistant 3, like somebody at Judy or Betty's level, in charge of the building on the weekend? So that's what I'm trying to do, is like, we need to increase certain levels so that we have like a certain level of responsibility available at all times. Because that's just wrong in my mind. That's not what that position in library assistant 2 is about. And in some cases, and they even use the word supervisor in the job description, which is like totally inappropriate. And let me tell you, in some cases, it went right to their heads too, and they started bossing around everybody in the whole building, and it's like, that's not your job, So it's caused some problems, and I just don't think it's a high enough level of supervision. And and they haven't done like a horrible job. It's just I want to prevent anything horrible from happening by making sure people are trained and by having the right level working during those times. So, but yeah, I can get you an FTE eventually, and we can compare.
Can I ask you about security? Do you think that Carnegie is secure? I mean, like, for the staff, do you feel like it's a safe place for them to work? I mean, I have no reason to think otherwise, just that it feels like there's more foot traffic or something.
There is a lot more foot traffic, and we're going to have to pay a lot more attention to that. So, like, already Denise was telling me that what I should do is and I haven't done this yet, get like a little peephole drilled in the door that goes out the back, because that's where our courier is going to come in, and if the courier knocks on the door, you want to be sure it's the courier and not somebody else. So, yeah, we want to be alert to those kinds of things, and because there are homeless that hang out in that park at times. I've heard that already. I've heard stories about that park. It's a park, and certain activities just take place in parks, because they can. And I've heard the trash can is like really very popular, for instance, that area back there. But, so we're going to have to pay more attention. But, honestly, I'm a little bit more concerned about the kids in the park than I am about the homeless, just because they climb all over that building. They are all over it, on the building.
Yeah, I saw 2 kids there just yesterday, up on the front deck, on the front porch, they're playing behind the hedges,
Yep, and we're gonna need to, like, really make some decisions about what's acceptable and when we're gonna chase them off. The other thing they do is they use their scooters and go up and down that ramp. Well, if we get more use on that ramp, that's gonna cause real problems, So I think we're gonna have to call a halt to some of their favorite activities, and that means that, like, there's gonna be parents who are not gonna be happy with us being there because, their kids are not gonna be happy about it. The other thing I've been thinking about is, like, okay, once that, like, pool thing starts up, they're not used to having a bathroom, like, right there. The pool thing, that round pool thing, the wading pool thing.
You mean spray?
Spray thing, whatever it does, okay, right? Yeah, okay, spray.
It used to be before.
Okay, so let's just imagine all these kids running in and out of the building in their little wet bathing suits. Okay, so I've ordered mats for the floor, like really, really long ones, and we'll probably put up a sign that, of course, a 3-foot high kid can't read that says, you must be dry to come into the children's room. But just picture it, I'm trying to like anticipate like all the little things that will happen so that they're as little of a problem as possible, but, yeah. So we're definitely gonna have to do some different kind of, because we're actually been pretty protected up there, you know? Yeah, it's far enough away that it's not convenient. And we're also like, isn't there a bus that goes like right by over here or something? Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, good thought.
I just wanted you to.
Yep.
Though some of the park activities may tone down because there's more library patrons.
It could, you're right.
Oh, yeah.
Don't know yet.
We'll
We're
find
gonna
out.
find out. I know exactly. It's gonna be interesting to find out. And I think I told you that we at first thought about staying open during the music in the park things, and we decided forget it. It would just be too much abuse on the, because we were just gonna keep the bathrooms open. We just decided, all of us, the park people and us, it'd be too much abuse on the bathrooms. So they'll just bring in porta potties like always. So, yeah, just too much traffic. So that's the plan. And we're gonna be, planting flowers in the planters up front, and that will look nice, I think. There's already some really beautiful irises and stuff in the ground from years past, but we'll add some flowers. Yeah, those kids climbing on the deck.
Told you that Monday that they're up and down the back steps.
Over the place.
Playing hide and seek or whatever.
Well, and that's just it, and like the school, over here at St. John's, is that it? One day I came and I saw all these kids in uniforms, and I mean, I recognize a good Catholic school uniform, I'll tell you. I was like, oh, I know where they're from. It was like their playground that day. I mean, that's where they were playing, the whole class of them, and I was like, oh, okay, well, that's fine. Absolutely, it's a public park, you know, but, you know, you get more people coming to the library, how will that change the dynamics of everything? Because it will have an impact in some way, shape, or form, good and bad.
Interesting. They also have their own playground.
Oh, I know, but you know, it was one of those gorgeous days, and
Well, you won't be opening until schools are closed.
this year, yeah,
That'll help.
that's right.
Then you'll have a routine and
Yeah.
they'll recognize that you're there too.
Right. Yeah, well, we'll see. I can run out there and be the scary librarian, and that would be awesome. That would be very cool. Yeah. Okay, so what's next? Okay, so I talked about everything except the statistics. I gave you, since I did not have time to do the regular statistics, and report, what I gave you is, this is what Joanna at the network sends to each director every month. And so, I chopped off, there's a blank column for June, and I chopped that off so we could fit it on one page. But what this is nice for is because it eventually will give us an entire year view of these specific statistics. But some of the stuff that we typically look at, but it's a little bit different stuff too. So, and it gives you across the board month by month on the same statistics, so that kind of helps because it's like right there, not just like a year ago or last month, but the whole entire year. So, how are we doing in May?
Really bother to say I'm moving, so it takes me out of, I don't want to have a
Fine.
library card anymore.
I don't know.
Total registered patrons.
That, I don't know, that's total registered patrons down there, 23,222. Is that, what is it for? Is that the entire,
Is that just in our service area? I
Or
would-
that's just
Which number are you looking
right at the bottom
the
here?
bottom box.
Yeah, 15.
Yeah, that's our service district. That's the OC service district.
Yeah, except we still don't know the number, total number in the entire system.
No, but you know, this is just one page out of a, each thing gets a page and there's, each city gets a page and there's probably an overview page too, so I'll look at that.
Perfect.
Yeah, I think so.
I see that people do a lot of, well,
50,000,
yeah,
and we're almost at 50%.
yeah, 50% of our clientele have, yeah,
Which is pretty good,
yeah.
it really is.
I see that this also indicates that we have a lot of activity done by internet. Three-quarters of, or 4/5 of the traffic is done by internet. Look at the staff renewals. Only 2,500 were done by the staff, and 12,000 were done by the patrons themselves online. 8 and 8, 8.5, yeah.
8.5, got it, yeah.
So that is,
Oh, and she's, yeah, that's a new split out, okay.
Yeah.
That seems a little weird to me because the April and May are the same number.
No, they're not.
They're 30 different.
they're 30 different, but
But they're way, way down.
They're 30 different, yeah, you're right.
Honestly, it's broken
Okay.
up.
Yeah, that's a little weird, if they're only 30 different.
odd, yeah.
Yeah.
But
But
that's,
if they're renewals, so that means you already have the book. And
oh, in the book, yeah. And you're just checking up on your status online and renewing your books.
Oh, I don't know exactly what that is. That doesn't seem like it. Oh, I see what you're saying, totally. Let me check on that and make sure it is what we think it is. Yeah.
You might also ask if you need a breakout of the number of holds that were placed in-house and the number of holds placed, online. It's, gives an idea of how much people are using the in-house facilities.
Mm-hmm.
How does someone put a hold on a book that isn't there?
Easily. Oh, everybody does. You just go online.
No, I know online, but how would you do it when you're there?
You use the catalog.
Catalog right there.
Oh, you're just on the computer there. You just when you put a hold on it or whatever.
Yeah.
So why is that helpful to you? Why is that statistic helpful to you?
Well, I don't know that it is. I mean, sometimes these things can help you like decide on staffing and stuff.
Oh, okay.
And
Like maybe how many computers you would need or something.
yeah, or or the other thing is like to tell you how much patrons are actually using your online tools themselves, because you could as easily be logged in as them if they're standing in front of you, doing it. So
how much time of reference librarian they have to deal with somebody who's got computer savvy that wants to come up with a book.
like the Carnegie, we're going to be placing holds at like virtually, let's see, at least 3 desks. Like right now, supposedly, and this is kind of a reference librarian thing, they think they should be the only ones placing holds, which is not actually what happens. But because they think they're the specialists in finding books for people. But like when somebody places a hold, they they sometimes know what they want, They just are standing there talking about it and you can do it for them or whatever. So we're going to be having library assistants placing holds too. It's a really easy thing to do.
Holds, you mean someone just sitting there and doing the same thing that I'm doing at home?
The skill is in finding the book, the appropriate book.
That matches the
But yeah, and so if you're not doing that big of an in-depth part on that, then, anybody can do it. There's quite the pecking order in the library world.
Sure, I'm
You know,
sure.
yeah.
Well, that's because that's a history of skills that have developed. So, of course, there would be.
And we're better at stereotyping ourselves than anybody could possibly be.
But I bet there's lots of change, especially being at those interviews, lots of change in your world with the computer coming into it.
Well, yeah, it made a lot more things available to different people, and so there's still a lot of controls on that, though. Like, so certain staff don't have access to certain modules, or they don't have certain permissions, and blah, blah, blah. And it can get a little extreme, but there's reasons for some of it that make sense. So, Phil?
Any thoughts on why circulation seems to be trending down after?
Could just be because people know we're moving.
Just
March is
a person.
55,000.
Right, in May we're at
That's-
46,000.
Yeah.
That's 20% down.
Yeah. It was in the 50s for the first part of the year.
Yeah, and then it's just,
Until March.
We started cleaning shelves in May, in
Before that.
April and May, so for a lot of the stuff.
Also, school is winding down. You have a lot less research work being done by students at the end of the school year.
I don't know. That's when most of us.
Well, the thing is that there's a problem with that, and that is that all of the students are looking for the same exact book. There are only 6 copies in the system. So those 6 get checked out, they're gone. It doesn't make any difference. Then your circulation drops. I know that directly because my son was looking for a book, and he'd gone to every library, he'd gone downtown, he was in fact trying to buy it if he could. And it turned out luckily for him that I happened to have it, so that made things life a lot easier for him. But the only reason I found out is because he was complaining to me about it, couldn't find the book. The fact is that everybody's looking for the same ones, and that makes it very difficult. That when it's during the general year, they're checking out a lot of stuff that is related. They're not looking for exactly a specific title.
No, I have it. Unrelated to that. A question maybe I missed somehow. So my books are due back June 25th, and we're reopening at the Carnegie. So
June 21st.
on June 21st, so where do I take my books? To
The Carnegie.
So, but I mean, where? Is there an external drop?
Uh-huh.
Okay. So
Yeah, or you can come in. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
So how am I?
we had to purchase an external drop, and that will be installed sometime next week.
Okay.
I'm hoping it will, yeah, you should hear,
Is it gonna be drive up? You gotta get out.
Tell you know.
try to get out.
Is it close to any parking?
Well, it just depends on, well, if I was you, I'd park in that little fire, see that fire cutout and just run up there. I mean, because it takes like, what, 30 seconds?
Okay, but I'm a special, I mean, I have the boys, so
Mhm.
you can't, like, leave them in the car, so I'll just do it all together. Just check out my books, but just,
You wouldn't leave them in the car while you just like ran?
I just know in my mind, like, where it is, because, like, now you can just park right there and they can see me, and I
Mhm.
just get out.
Well, this will be like 20 steps
Oh,
farther.
it's really cool. Okay.
Well, it'll be right next to the building. But, you know, it's like, before, like, if you're pointed this way, going this way, on the park side of the street, there's like, about from this distance on, it's like painted red, and it kind of is indented a little bit, and that's like all for the fire trucks when they need to pull out and stuff. But really, the chance of them pulling out while you're dropping your books off is slim. Me, I would pull in there. Should I just say something? You know, when you go on
Well,
TV,
and it is painted red.
it is painted red.
That's
Painted red.
Okay.
And also, the library is offering a special deal that if you bring your books in after they reopen, they will waive your fine for you.
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm
we're,
gonna make it, though. I'm fine. I have till the 25th.
yeah, but we're gonna be like pretty kind in those few days. Several days, yeah.
It's real easy to renew most everything.
You got everything on mine.
Yeah.
That's what made me think of it. Okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
And if we want to put some holes in right now, should we put them in the Western Library or?
I want them before we reopen at the Carnegie. I would do it so that your pickup spot is Westland. Otherwise, any Oregon City hold is just gonna get kind of bumped off until we reopen. I mean, you won't really like lose your order, but
Right.
yeah, we're not filling them.
What's a hold expired?
That means that somebody didn't come in and pick up their hold that they placed.
What's a hold expired on shelf?
That's the ones where they didn't come in and pick it up. The other ones are ones I've had where, for example, a book was lost and you had it on hold, you had
Yeah.
the only copy on
Yeah.
hold, it was never returned.
Yeah.
So they could never fill the
They
hold, and
couldn't
after
fill
a
it, yeah.
year, it just expires.
Yeah.
And it doesn't happen very often, but I happen to be, I think I'm at least 3 of these books. They're showing up that way.
But the ones that have like 903 for May, that one is where somebody like just never comes and picks up their hold, and after 10 days we put it back on the shelf. And you know,
13 are missing books.
yeah, well, or something like that, exactly. Yeah, and so there's always talk at libraries to like charge people for those holds that they don't come in and pick up. Because you can see that it's an incredible amount of work to pull those 900 books and then reshelve them. And for those whole 10 days, it's not available to another soul. So,
You could be pulling it in spirit, it could be for them on vacation or the hospital.
well, now listen, there is a way you can suspend a hold. So that's what we just need more education about that, because if it's not working for you, then you should suspend your hold so that somebody else can get it.
So it's about 10% of them are not picking them up.
You can suspend your hold.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So just when you're online, it's just.
Go to your holds list and you check the items, and at the bottom it says suspend holds.
Does it allow you to do a date, or just? it
No, you just suspend
and
it.
then you go back in.
And reactivate, is that what it does? I never do it.
Very big and you get a terrific response.
No, I know. So it's just, but it's difficult to administrate. is why most people don't go there, because anytime you have money, it just like gets that much more messy. So, and a lot of people don't believe in fines to begin with, you know, they're just like,
Rewards are better.
rewards are better. I agree.
Okay,
Okay, Friends of the Oregon City Library report. I
okay.
like that, do you?
We're still done, right?
Alright.
The bookstore took in $4,406.63 in May.
Can you say that again?
$4,406.63 in May.
That's your gross.
723 of that was trade, and 38 was gift items. Our farmers market's coming up, and last Saturday's $175 they made at the farmers market. We're having more volunteers. We're renewing our chamber membership. We're putting more money into our library funds from our checking. Oh, and some of the trade's doing some things for the second Saturday, so that'll be taking part in the summer, some meet and greets second Saturday of the month from 12 to 3.
Last Sunday, the Oregon City High School literary class did their kickoff for their new literary magazine, 3 o'clock, and they had music, and parents and kids who were invaded.
At the bookstore? How cool.
And we discovered that our acoustics are pretty good.
Good.
We had girls who were singing and doing their guitars and stuff, and then some of the students read their sections out of the magazine.
Very cool.
And it was really, the teacher had called and said, somebody suggested this on the students. I said, come, go for it.
Awesome.
So how's the trag thing working out? Is everybody happy with that?
Seems to be, Greg is happy with it, because we were asking her.
The 3-year report is filled.
2 of them are on our transport, so we're asking them about that today, and they've never had a store before. And that is much more business-like than the stuff they had at the end of the Oregon Trail Center. They had a little something.
Did they volunteer there 100% of the time?
Close. Yeah. Close. And they seem pretty happy, and we get money, and it works out.
Good.
They do better when the artists are more interactive, and some are more interactive than others.
It's the same thing, we sell more books when our book for a volunteer is friendly and walks out and talks to the people and helps them find things. You know, that's true in any sales organization. If you've got people who talk to you and interact, it's amazing the difference it makes.
Anything else on this?
No.
Library Foundation? Anybody? Is that you?
Well, apparently when I missed the meeting last month, I was appointed.
Conversation.
So,
Dangerous.
yeah. So I think what we're going to do is, Linda and anyone who's interested can meet up, thank you, one time before the next scheduled monthly meeting and kind of sketch out some strategies and how we're really going to proceed and to identify some tasks. And then we'll report back, and then we'll hopefully find volunteers to take those tasks on.
Oh, I think also we should comment that we've got our status.
We have the 501
Yeah.
status now.
Great.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Well, that's good.
501c3, is that what it is?
That's it.
That's C5, isn't it?
No.
Free,
C3.
should be C3.
Profit.
Yeah, nonprofit, otherwise it'd be foundation. Under
It's a
a-
foundation.
No, the five is a foundation under a, oh God, I used to know this. Never mind, not important. It's a different thing.
Moving on,
Okay.
new business. Anybody in the new business? I have one minor thing. I got called a couple days ago by Phyllis Stockton, Phil Hart, and I know the answer to this question, but I told them I'd raise it, so I'm raising it. They need space to store stockings and stuff.
Oh, that,
Do you know who they are? by the way?
yeah, they've,
Did they bug you already?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
They told me to bug you, so here I am. I
And-
told them, but gee, they can't. I said, Mo can't even put her books in Easton yet, so
Thank
you
you.
can't
Thank
put
you.
yours in there.
That's
I said,
right,
"Oh, really?"
and I
Yeah.
explained that to them.
So it's gonna be like a year before you leave, be able to bug her, and they said, oh, really? I said, yes, let's bug them anyway. I said,
And they've heard that from me, so, okay.
We can put back your books when we get over to Easton, we can put them in the boiler room for them, that might help.
And even when we get to Eastham, it's not like I get to make all those decisions about how we fill that space. So,
They are good.
I mean, it seems like a worthy cause. It's just that they need the space all year.
Right, and if you're gonna do programming, make sure you can.
We need to think a lot more about what we need.
Where all the classrooms for the library.
Preschool is staying,
Right.
and we'll want to
Well,
do
the
activities.
preschool will eventually be out. I mean, the preschool and community ed will eventually be completely out.
That's probably
That's,
2 years.
that's,
out.
that's
No.
212, isn't it? They're guaranteed through May of 212.
No, they're guaranteed through May of 2011. 2011.
Okay.
Yeah, so just the next school year, they're guaranteed. And then after that, it's up in the air.
Okay.
So,
And then there's the possibility of the alternative high school continuing. See how it works out.
see how it works out.
Are we gonna have a name for that building? Is it gonna be called Easton?
Yeah, I've thought about that actually, Phil, because since it's known as Eastham, it's gonna be, but we're the Oregon City Public Library, and that's by charter, so we can't change that. I just don't know.
Oregon City Public Library, Easton Branch, or?
Easton Campus,
Easton
yeah,
Campus,
yeah. Right,
Anybody know where the name Easton came from?
yeah, but I couldn't tell you right now. But they're the guy who,
There's a guy named Easton.
yep, and they named the school after him originally, but the land, Karen always says something, the land supposedly came from the original McLaughlin land grant, but then she says, no, that's wrong, it didn't, blah, 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 so, controversy.
Yeah, because it's like when we first saw that phrase, we thought it was the city that had given the land, and it turns out it was the county that had given the land. So how it ended up in the county.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that is a good question, yeah, I know, really.
Well, anything else? Next regular meeting, July 14th. It's Bastille Day, everybody.
Yes. Are you gonna have some sort of a celebration at the library when reopen?
Reopen,
Or soon after?
I haven't given it a lot of thought, I have nothing planned at the moment, I just wanna get it open.
Channel 2.
And when are you taking your vacation?
Actually, I'm leaving July 1, but it's like just a long weekend, and it's in East Texas, and so the most fun I'll have probably that weekend is my son and I are going to go to Six Flags over Texas. I scheduled that in so that we can make it through the family reunion part.
July 1 in Easton.
I know it.
Oh,
Can you believe it? Well, they're from Texas, those people are, but I'm
You know, I
not.
think you might think about sending a press release to the television news stations to see if we can get some coverage.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Because it's sort of newsworthy moving back into Carnegie.
Yeah.
With a focus on
okay.
Easton,
Color story.
Yes.
I mean, I think they probably would.
it would be good to keep top of mind, but also with the focus on Easton, like providing some photos, or even if the crew doesn't want to go up all the way there, maybe focusing, saying this is temporary, continue to do that because you don't want to have additional public confusion.
Oh, yeah, believe me, we've been explaining this like a gazillion times to people. And then they'll go, oh, yeah, I heard something about that. It's like, great,
Or
great.
you're not the only one in town.
Yeah.
Well, it's really going to be interesting being living in this neighborhood and having a business across the street and see how it operates.
I know.
Very
Well, and it's going to be really interesting for us to be like this much closer to City Hall and to the bookstore and to lots of things, because it's going to make our life a lot easier in some respects, let me tell you, for meetings, because I'm down here a lot. We come here quite a bit. So,
I'm just gonna be curious about the parking too. That's to me the big
Yep.
question.
It'd be interesting if the patches, because I tend to across the street.
4 or something. Yeah. Yep.
And then with your uphill neighbors that use the parking down the street a lot.
Yeah, but, well, here's my plan, is to park there, to have the 8 o'clock staff park there before anybody else comes there, because it's all day parking. And,
Park where?
on the uphill side.
On the street?
Uh-huh.
So that'll generate a few complaints from the council.
Well, it's not like they own that parking across the street.
Your parking is,
That's
people
their
come and
parking.
go.
Well, then they can come and go around us. You know, we have just as much right to that parking as they do. It's, you know, free, open, all-day parking. And so,
I'd suggest though, that if you want to have patrons come to your library, that you leave that parking open. And so I would suggest that you arrange to have your staff park in the city's parking lot, which is, if there's room, so that you can keep that open, because you really.
there's no space in the city's lots.
Well, I think it's a bad idea to have your people take the prime spots. I know when you're on a business.
Well, do you think that the outfield spot parking really is the prime spot for the library?
It's red in front.
Not the entire block, it's not.
7th Street is blocked off half.
I think that's a
But
bad
the front
idea.
is, so you only have,
Design.
I know, I've been there many times. You have across the street, you have in front, which is about the length of like 4, across the street is about the length of 3. You have along the side, we're talking like 2 people on the uphill. There's not that many people that come to work at 8 a.m. Thank you, Phil, I will take that comment under advice because you know the neighborhood.
Well, it's just, I know when I operate a business, if I want people to come into my business, I send my employees, and I send them to far the street, just to say, park over there, leave the ones close to the business available for patrons. If you want people to come to your shop and it's raining, they're not gonna come. if they're
Well,
out of
you know,
water.
no matter where I park, that doesn't mean it's gonna be available, because like you said, the businesses across the street, they're gonna have people come and go there too, so there's not gonna be any guarantees there.
Something that's interesting too is perception.
Mhm.
It's really imperative that things are set well. I'm not saying one way or other about this uphill parking. I'm not familiar with the actual area, but perception of, is it easy to park? Am I going to be able to go? I think is going to set a lot of tone at first. And it's hard to overcome that, especially because of the temporary spots. So I'm just curious I'm really curious of how this is going to work out for parking. But a lot of times I've seen downtown, when I work downtown, when new shops or whatever would open, they would have a little, like, just a single one posted inside their window of like, these are some easy places to park.
That's a good idea, parking that.
I don't know if you want to do that online, you know, just if these are open spots, you know.
And anything uphill from us is all day, right?
It might be. I mean, if it doesn't, I mean, this is such a
Well, I
long
mean,
road.
staff can park anywhere beyond that because it's all day, which is nice. If they can find it. I mean, anybody that can find it.
I can think of that.
Mm-hmm.
You could have a volunteer do it, you know, just something really low. Queen, 2 birds with 1 key, is my friend.
There you go. I like that idea actually a lot. That would really, it's always what I've discovered, which I haven't done enough of, but having the visual for a lot of people.
We're all different learners.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Anything more, ladies and gents?
Are we having an August meeting? We never did, but then the last 2 years we have.
Because we've been so
We've been
busy.
so busy, and I feel like we're so busy that we should, but,
I'm available.
okay.
I think I am. When would it be?
August.
Kara's been a while.
Somewhere far away and wonderful.
Whatever, 16?
Maybe the 11th, August 11th.
I just don't know.
Right.
When does September one be?
Question.
The September 8th. Mm-hmm. Oh, well, you know, we can maybe decide in July if we want to, but I think there's gonna be like